responsibility, not responding or reacting to the situation,
Proactive.
but be proactive. So we have that now going on. We have an expanse of land that the governor has so dedicated, and we have started construction, and then we're having that in place so that even after Ebola settles down, we still have Lassa fever, we have other
Dengue
fever, that are there. So that's one thing we are doing now at the moment. And in another 4 weeks, we'll get all of this done. And then we have that. And we build career of our scientists, in days.
So they don't run to banking and the likes.
So that's what we're doing.
Dr. Yedrick.
Right. So in Imo State, really, what we've done to try to build a health system in Imo State is to, use the modified building blocks recommended by the World Health Organization to put a health system in place. One of those building blocks is medical products and medical technologies. And what we have done in Imo State is that His Excellency began to build 27 general hospitals in each local government. And very recently, we started to map our strategies to designate each of those hospitals as specialists, for special specialist programs.
Was that as a result of the EVD in Nigeria?
This predated the EVD. And so one of those 27 general hospitals will be designated an infectious disease center. But as we speak, we already have our isolation units, completely being, built, and it's about being completed. We also have training going on for some of our staff who will be manning these isolation units. So we have really been proactive right from July 15th, thereabout. That was, at that time, there was the index case had not arrived in Nigeria. But at that point, I started making contact with the Federal Ministry of Health through the Honorable Minister of State for Health, asking questions about, trying to establish that synergy.
Sorry, do you have some of the experts in your state, epidemiologists and people in charge of disease control? Do you have them, or you have them in short supply?
Imo State has an active epidemiology unit under my charge at the State Ministry of Health. So we have a state epidemiologist, and we also have disease surveillance and notification officers that work with the state epidemiologists. But of course, this is an outbreak that has happened in other states. And recently we called for volunteers who can be ready for training, so that if we do have a large number of people trickling into our state, then we'll be able to handle such.
Have you had cause to send some of these experts to states like Lagos or Rivers? Because one fantastic thing we noticed from Lagos State was that some of those experts have been deployed to Rivers State to help, because now they have the experience and the expertise to help out. So are you thinking, or did you send any of your experts to any of these states?
Right, we've already done that. We've by Tuesday this week, we have about 12 officers who will be going to train in Rivers State. We wanted to do that 2 weeks ago, send them to Lagos, but for some reason the case now came to Rivers State, and so we're trying to take advantage of that proximity and sending these 12 initial officers who will be going for these trainings on how to use the PPEs, that's the personal protective equipment. Which the state was the first to procure in the southeast of Nigeria, so that they can know exactly the protocols of putting them on and putting them off, and also how to man the isolation units that we have in place now. So these officers, hopefully by Tuesday next week, they will be in Rivers State taking trainings from the Nigerian Centers for Disease Control officers who are there training officers.
All right. Can you talk to us about the experimental procedures suggested by the World Health Organization, which makes a lot of sense, about antibodies of those who have survived the virus?
Right. So the whole thing about the Ebola virus disease, or any viral disease, as a matter of fact, is that as soon as the virus gets into a human, it challenges the human, blood cells. Of course, there are antigens, circulating. And the response usually is that we will produce antibodies to those antigens. So initially, the two experts who were taken away from, I think it's Sierra Leone in West Africa, who went back to the United States, had this experimental drug that was tried out on them. That drug showed promise. It did show promise, and that's because they began to respond to that drug. And I think as of this moment, the two of them are out of isolation and are kind of doing well. So I believe that the whole idea is to see how we can also, import that drug and see whether it can be useful to our people here. That's
No, my question is, World Health Organization is actually suggesting, outside of ZMapp, it is saying that we should use the antibodies produced by the survivors, experiment on it, and then come up with some sort of drug, not ZMapp.
So that's the way that vaccines work. Okay, vaccines are introduced because the responses that we as human beings build up can be taken and modified into a vaccine itself, and then re-injected back into sufferers, and we expect the results should come out from there. So that's what WHO basically is.
Is this something we can start next month?
Well, I mean, talking about our environment now, CDC, of course, should take up this responsibility. I mean, the Nigerian Center for Disease they should look at research into this for those that have been discharged, and then try to see if we can have a drug that can be in that form. But I must quick to let you know that if you understand the pathogenesis, what we mean is the body response, or the way this virus even cause disease, there is quite a whole lot of opportunities that we need to look at.
Right.
The virus gets into the body tries to recognize as a foreign thing that has come in, and then it tries to fight. But the virus again does not stop there. It keeps multiplying itself in such a way that it gets the person down. And at the moment of getting this person down, of course, it attacks the immune system.
That's right.
When the person gets down, of course, the next thing is that the virus sees that this person is going to die. And they say, by way of theory, the virus will try to get out of the system, and then they begin to manifest in form of vomiting, diarrhea, and all of that, and such that it comes out of the system to look to another.
And a virus cannot live outside the host. That's why it's trying to get out and get into another host to continue living.
To continue living. But the point when you look at most of those who have survived, one thing they have said is that their lymphocytes has been so active to produce what they call the IgM, immunoglobulin, quick, because what has led to some people coming down quickly is that the lymphocytes,
the white blood cells?
The white cell, don't get to produce that on time. The what we call the APC, the antigen presenting cell, don't get to stimulate that production of that IgG that tend to help those who have survived. So, I mean, going into research, what is critical here is that we need to look at how we can get this lymphocyte to produce this Ig and then cause more people to get out of the virus. So that's why investing in research, will really, really help. We must not wait till outbreak like this before we begin to react. So we must do more into our research, on how we can get this to be stimulated quickly so I can help those who are sick and then get them to respond and get hold of this virus on time, because it becomes so much in the system that it will bring the patient down.
Let's talk about
stimulating the Ig. What was it you said again? Sorry.
And the lymphocyte to produce the immunoglobulins, that IgG. That will get.
Is not a simple answer, yeah. Okay.
Well, anyway, I wanted us to look at helping or caring for the caregivers, medical doctors, missionaries, because less than 24 hours from now, or rather 24 hours ago, another third victim or someone has contracted the virus, an American who is also a missionary. So we have seen cases of doctors contracting the virus and medical professionals, as well as even those who care for those who have the virus. Mm-hmm. So how well can we sensitize even those we thought knew how well to protect themselves? Is it that the PPEs are not adequate, or well, they were careless? What kind of word will you give out to those who are caring for these people so that they too can stay safe?
Right, because we know that the healthcare workers are the most at risk for contracting Ebola virus disease, and they should actually be the first persons to receive any gadgets, the personal protective equipment, the PPEs. And we're going a step to say, before they can even begin to utilize those PPEs, we must make sure that the PPEs themselves